Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with my pearl-handle pistol cufflinks, so graciously gifted to me by our content genius, Michael Rivers, who's behind the camera and he just feeds me my lines. None of this is me. This is all hand-dealt, spoon-fed by our content genius, Michael Rivers. I've got no brain of my own. Let's begin. We're going to start this episode with this as a reaction to Donald Trump and his latest indictment out of Miami with the DOJ and the document case. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a little story about my basement. My basement has just been the absolute source of all kinds of shenanigans. Now, my grandfather has moved in, and my grandmother and grandfather, they're into some weird shit in my basement. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it smells a lot like ganj. I'm not sure if that's what they're doing. But I got to get them out of there. And I don't trust them to be alone. So I got to have anybody come and get them out of my house. So I've enlisted the help of a lawyer. And so I went to esign.com. You download the app. You get 3 free signatures a month. And you're able to get a restraining order. You can get I can all do it remotely, so I don't have to leave the house. So I can keep an eye on their marijuana growing operation in my basement. Can you believe that? I can't even believe they're doing that. It's an effective way to remotely do business so you don't have to go into the office. Everybody's working remote these days, and so if you need a power of attorney, you need a eviction notice for your grandparents, or whatever you need esign.com, because if it's not eSign, no one signs. All right, so let's get right into this. I've read the indictment. I've read the whole thing cover to cover. It's 44 pages, and let me tell you what I have found out about this indictment. Trump is up against a very meticulous prosecutor here. Jack Smith is just taking his time, and everybody's like, oh, we should indict him right now, blah, blah, blah. Whether you're a Trump fan or not, it really doesn't matter, because let's look at the facts. And one of the things that I've learned about looking at the facts of this case is that they have dates, times, and they go back to his knowledge. One of the things that Trump has to know is that these documents were secured, or not secure, but confidential or classified or top secret or whatever the classification, and that they were government documents. Because as a former president, you're not entitled to keep government documents, whether you're Joe Biden, whether you're Mike Pence, or whether you're anybody else. So I want to just tell you, before we get into the facts, here's what's at risk here. There's basically 2 statutes. You got 793E, that's the illegal retention of defense documents. That's the big one. The other ones are 1512 and 1519. Those are basically, and when I say 1512 and 1519 and 793, I'm talking about 18 U.S. code, and then that's the statute number. So it's the Chapter 18 United States Code, and then 793E. So let's kind of go with the 793E first, and let's talk about what the guide. See, these sentences are all driven by the guidelines, okay? So if you look up the guidelines, you look up gathering national defense information. This is 2M 3.2 and 2M 3.3. These are really high guideline sentences. So if it's top secret information, it's 35. What does that mean? Well, you go into the sentencing table, which is right here in the front of the book, 20-year statutory maximum, right? But if you look at the offense severity level, and you go down to 35, and then you go to criminal history category 1, because it's a grid, it gives you what the guideline range is for that level. At a 35, it is 168 to 210 months. So whenever you hear somebody on the news talk about he's facing a maximum of 20 years, nobody ever gets the maximum, okay? Especially if you're a first-time offender. Unless there are some aggravating circumstances. and that would require a departure upward of what the guy. Generally, people fall within the guidelines. So if it's top secret information, the guideline range for Mr. Trump is 168 to 210 months. Now, he's not going to admit that he did anything wrong, but if he did, you could get a 3-point reduction for acceptance of responsibility. So that would bring you down to 121 to 151. But long short of it is that if it's top secret information, he's looking at a level 35. Now, if it's not top secret information, it's a level 30. And a level 30 would be 97 to 121 months. So basically 14 to 17 years, somewhere in there. And then you're looking at level 30, 8 to 10 years there, basically. That gives you kind of a semblance of what the guideline range, and the guideline range is one of the factors that a court has to consider when determining a sentence. And I argue the federal sentencing guidelines all the time. And almost every time I say, oh, you should give him probation, you should do this, and sometimes the prosecutors come along with me, but most of the time they don't. And now here's the other thing. The feds have 96% conviction rate or something like that. It's super high. And why do they do that? Because they don't bring cases they think they're going to lose. So the thing about Trump and this case, he's indicted along with this Waltine Nauta. Waltine Nauta was a personal valet. He was in the Navy. He was a personal aide to Donald Trump, and he followed him to Mar-a-Lago. And the reason that he is involved in this is because he moved a lot of the documents. Trump's direction did not tell the government where the documents were, so he helped conceal them. The other statute that we're looking at here is 1512 and 1519, and both of those fall under an obstruction charge. And that starts out at a level 14. So in a sense, who gives a shit about that? Because that's really not that big a deal. However, it would be a big enough deal to Nauta to be able to maybe cooperate, and he may already be cooperating. Who knows? Because you can get indicted and still be a cooperator. And if he's cooperating, there's a thing called 5K. You're a snitch. And 5K, you get a reduction for rendering substantial assistance to the government. Okay, that being said, what did he do? I mean, what did Trump do? He brought a ton of shit to Mar-a-Lago and to Bedminster, actually. In July 2021, at the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, during an audio-recorded meeting with the writer and a publisher and 2 members of his staff, none of whom possessed security clearance, Trump showed and described a plan of attack that Trump said was prepared for him by the Department of Defense and a senior military official. I think this is the thing they were talking about Iran with Milley, General Milley. Trump told the individuals that the plan was highly confidential and secret. He also said that as president, I could have declassified it, and now I can't, but this is still secret. So when he tries to say that he was under the impression that he could just declassify something just by thinking about it, yes, bullshit. You can't. I mean, and there's a bunch of these kinds of little factoids in here where Trump kind of shoots himself in the foot. And the other part of it, it's this disclosure and the retention of the documents that's really at issue here. In August or September of 2021 at the Bedminster Club, Trump showed a representative of his political action committee who did not possess a security clearance, a classified map related to military operations, and told the representative that he should not be showing it to representative and that the representative should not get too close. So, I mean, we use that, well, not we, because I'm a defense lawyer, but a prosecutor will use that to show an awareness by Trump of him breaking the law and how he knows as a consciousness of guilt. So then you have an investigation that gets opened by the Department of Justice as referred to by NARA, the National Archives. They want to get their documents back. They know he's got them, and he says, I don't have them, or he's stonewalling them. And so the DOJ opens an investigation. They subpoena the documents. He talks to his lawyers and say, what if we tell him we just don't have them? What if we just delay and don't respond to the subpoenas? What if we destroy the documents? And that's all in this indictment. And that's significant because two of their lawyers appeared before the grand jury. You know how rare that is? I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never had to do that. I've never given up a client's secret, ever. And this is just unheard of. They went to a judge, and the judge says, no, you're going to have to testify because this is part of the crime fraud exception. So if the client is using you as a lawyer to further a crime, bye-bye. You can't maintain that secret. Okay? So his lawyers are all over this indictment and are now witnesses against him. You realize that? That is just crazy. But it's all because of his chutzpah. I mean, nothing is, no rules apply to Donald Trump. He gets this false sense of security. And when you get a false sense of security or your balls get so big that you don't think anybody can touch you, you make mistakes. And he made a lot of mistakes here. And over a long period of time. You saw when Pence had documents and he figured it out, he called the FBI right away and he turned them in. Same thing with Biden. Biden had some and he turned them right in and invited the FBI to his house to search. What we have here, and we'll show you some of these documents. I mean, there's like hundreds of boxes and hundreds of documents. Not all the things in all the boxes were classified, but there's hundreds of classified documents. And really what matters more than anything else is not just that they're classified, they're defense documents. That's why the guidelines are so damn high. So when you look, because sometimes you can have a statutory maximum that's high, but the guidelines would be low because it's a certain type of offense, like a low-level drug case, for example. Because like the quantity of drugs is what drives the sentencing guidelines on drug cases. Not so here. It's the nature of the defense, or nature of the charge itself, that they're defense documents. You've got 37 counts, and what's really implicated here are, and you can see it on the front page of the indictment. It is the 793, 1512, and 1001. Those are false statements. So you've got the retention of defense documents. You've got obstruction and making false statements. The obstruction and making false statements, who kind of cares about that? Because those are fairly low level, like I said, 14 and even lower than that. This is not a little case for Donald Trump. When I say he's at a level 35 or a level 30, depending upon the types of documents that he's looking at, it's serious, and the guidelines are high. And when you look at the broad scheme of everything he's looking at, like the Manhattan District Attorney's Office with 34 counts there, remember, you also have the January 6th grand jury that's been impaneled. So that is coming for him. And then you've got the DA in Fulton County, Georgia, Fani Willis, and she's got a grand jury that's going to probably indict sometime in either late July or early August. She's already made it known to the court down there that she needs to have security measures in place for what she's about to do. And then you've got the AG of New York, who's got who in October is going to try the tax fraud case to the tune of $250 million going after his pocketbook. That's totally civil. Let's just kind of go through, you know what I always say, stop self-snitching. Well, his own words are going to come and bite him in the ass. In paragraph 22 of the indictment, on August 18th, Trump said, "In my administration, I am going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law." Well, one of the things that he did is he increased the penalty for the retention of classified information. Oh, interesting. On September 6th, Trump said, "We also need to fight this battle by collecting intelligence and then protecting our classified secrets. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified." So if you look at some of these statements, Trump in his own words, tells you how serious it is, and he flies in the face of that. If you look at where these things were stored, they were stored in a ballroom. They were stored in a bathroom. They were stored in a shower. They were kind of willy-nilly. You've got so much in this that's so specific, and it's only going to get worse and compile upon him. And how you can keep a straight face and go out and do what he does, it's just beyond me. I would be stressed to the max. So this has just been our reaction to the indictment on Donald Trump, to show you real world what the guidelines are, what he's really facing, and how this could really impact any kind of criminal sentence just on the document case. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you sign up for Patreon, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe. We'll see you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away.
23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?